You guys know Lauren Boebert, right? I've talked about her a couple times before, but she's famous in her own right. She is a member of Congress, a U.S. congressman, and she's kind of a bomb thrower, I guess you'd call her. She likes to be really inflammatory and say fucked up stuff just to get attention, basically. She's kind of friends with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think they call themselves the Freedom Caucus, maybe. Quick side note here. I don't know if you guys heard, but recently Marjorie Taylor Greene got banned from Twitter, permanently banned. That was her personal account. She still has access to her congressman's account. I think it's Rep MTG or something like that, but she hasn't said anything to violate rules on there recently yet, at least. So we'll see if she gets to keep access to that or not. I'm not sure. Anyways, late December 2021, she made an appearance at a Turning Points USA conference, and she had some weird stuff to say. So I wanted to reintroduce you to her, talk about some of the older clips that she's famous for, and then we'll talk about her latest clip, which is a Turning Points USA clip. So give this a watch. This one is from May 20th, 2021.
You know, I'm really enjoying telling Speaker Pelosi to kiss my mask, though. Yes.
Kiss my mask. That is dumb as dog shit. I am sorry. That was a stupid joke. It didn't even warrant a chuckle from me. I didn't find it amusing at all.
Yesterday, Thomas.
She's laughing her ass off over here on the left. Listen to this chuckle.
Yesterday, Thomas.
She thinks it's fucking hilarious.
Madison Cawthorn, Brian Mast, Beth Van Dyne, and several other colleagues joined me in refusing to wear a mask on the House floor. Thomas Massey and I both got warnings, and both of our letters ended up in the same exact place, ironically, the trash. Leftists won't even listen to the bureaucrats at the CDC.
Leftists won't listen to the bureaucrats at the CDC. Well, I know the CDC is recommending mask usage, so I'm not sure what she's getting at. Is she saying that the CDC is recommending against it? Because that's simply untrue. I mean, I just disagree with you, madam. I don't know what else to say here. You're wrong. The CDC recommends mask usage.
And it just goes to show that this party's follow the science slogan is a total joke, just like this entire administration, just like the entire Democrat Party.
I love that, like, even she seems to recognize that she's in a party that is opposed to science, and the oppositional party, which would be the Democrats, are in favor of the science. Isn't that interesting how that dichotomy exists, and even she knows it exists and recognizes it publicly?
They want to tell you to listen to science and listen to data and facts, but they haven't done that for more than a year. 2 weeks to slow the spread turned into communism really, really quickly.
That's why it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, not stop the spread. Nobody expected to stop COVID completely by spending 2 weeks being careful. We just wanted to flatten the curve, to try to make it less dramatic, to see fewer deaths in the country. And guess what? A lot of the efforts that I personally put in, and many, many others, millions of other people, a lot of the efforts that we all put in worked. They did save a lot of lives. Unfortunately, at this moment, we are entering a peak with the Omicron variant, and it's getting really, really ugly, sadly. Omicron is supposed to be, from my understanding, last I checked, it's supposed to have an R0 value, roughly equivalent to chickenpox, so it's just as contagious as chickenpox, or damn near it, which is extremely concerning. This is exactly what we were afraid would happen when we saw Republicans refusing to wear masks, refusing to vaccine, refusing to do fucking anything, refusing to help in any way. In fact, going out of their way to make the situation worse in some cases. All you have to do is wear a piece of fucking cloth over your face, and it'll make it better for some people. Instead, she's sitting here making jokes about kissing her mask. I think grotesque is the best word for this. Oh, and one more thing.
Slow the spread turned into communism really, really quickly. Now,
does she know what communism is? I mean, based on what she just said, I'm going to say no. I don't believe she does. It's just buzzwords and loaded language and cliches all the way down. You guys remember the book 1984 by George Orwell? It's been like years since I've read it. I'm trying to remember. There was a character in that book, a girl, and the main character was describing the girl in the book, saying that like there was nothing in her head but propaganda, nothing but state-sponsored thoughts or something like that. That is what I think when I see Lauren Boebert.
2 weeks to slow the spread turned into communism really, really quickly. Now it's show me your papers.
It's just persecution complex to the highest degree. They want to act like they're the most persecuted people alive. Grotesque really is the best word for this.
But don't forget, Gina, Texas removed their mask mandate 2 months ago, and Sleepy Joe called it Neanderthal thinking.
Huh, how about that? Texas, okay, so this came out in May, I believe. She says Texas removed their mask mandate 2 months before. So March, I guess. March 2021 is when Texas removed their mask mandate, right?
Republicans are just following the science. And since removing the mask mandates 2 months ago, Texas has not reported a single COVID death. Not one.
Aged like milk. I love going back and looking at all of this shit that is so obviously propagandistic now. So obviously bullshit. Funny thing about that is there's actually this article here from gov.texas.gov, Office of the Texas Governor, Greg Abbott. This is a post on the official Texas website. Governor Abbott, TDEMDSHS, I don't know what that means, request federally supported COVID-19 testing sites, medical personnel, increased monoclonal antibody allocations. How about that shit? Texas is asking for help from the federal government. What was it that Lauren Boebert said a second ago?
Texas has not reported a single COVID death. Not one.
She said Texas didn't report a COVID death from March to May 2021, implying at the very least that Texas had completely beaten COVID. Anybody of sound mind could tell at that time the pandemic wasn't over yet. And somehow it just went right over her head. She didn't even realize it. What we're looking at on screen here for the audio audience is a New York Times latest map and case count tracking coronavirus in Texas. Lauren Boebert says basically from March to May that Texas didn't report a single death, right? Here we go. Reported deaths by day. According to Lauren Boebert, starting March 1st to May 30th, right? Let's be fair and make it a more narrow window. The video came out May 20th, so let's do March 20th to May 20th. Interesting. So March 20th, Texas actually reported 97 new deaths just on the very first day of her 2-month claim there. March 21st, 45 deaths. April 10th, 65. May 1st, 52. It was trending down at that moment because we were going into a dip, but then it peaked, went right back up, all the way up to 366 deaths on September 16th. So I really have no idea what she's even talking about. Like, Texas hasn't reported a death, not one. Like I said, nothing but propaganda in this person's head. Nothing there but propaganda. That's it. She actually did something fairly recently to draw the ire of the left, if you will. This one came out late November 2021. She has been going around the country, doing a tour basically, telling an interesting story about Representative Ilhan Omar, her fellow congressman. Give this one a listen. Late November 2021 is when it started.
Going back to my office, and we get in the elevator, and I see a Capitol Police officer running hurriedly to the elevator. I see fret all over his face, and he's reaching, and I'm like, what? I can't, the door's shutting. Like, I can't open it. Like, what's happening? I look to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine.
The level of bigotry and racism and hatred coming from this group of people is fucking disgusting. I really don't know what to do about it. Like, does she not realize how wrong this is? Or why it's wrong in the first place? Interestingly enough, she actually came out and apologized for that, allegedly. But I'm having a hard time buying the apology because she went around and told that same exact story to multiple different audiences. Let's keep listening. This was on a news broadcast about it.
Known for being outspoken, Boebert issued a rare apology to Omar, writing on Twitter, quote, "I apologize to anyone in the Muslim community I offended with my comment about Rep. Omar."
Look, it's not about apologizing for offense at this point. Do you know what this kind of rhetoric does? It inspires domestic terrorism when you do shit like this. Seriously. I don't give a shit about being offended. I want this shit to stop for people's safety. It's like Bill O'Reilly and Dr. Tiller. I don't know if you guys remember this shit. I just talked about this not long ago. Bill O'Reilly demonized this Dr. Tiller guy. All right, if you're going to come up here and sit, then go ahead and come up here and sit. Bill O'Reilly demonized this Dr. Tiller guy. He was an abortion doctor. Until the time finally came when somebody took it into their own hands and showed up and took him out. That's what this kind of rhetoric leads to. Full-blown stochastic terrorism. That's what it does. That's what this is. I don't give a shit about being offended. It's not about offense. It's about the fact that you are statistically going to get people killed when you do things like this. You're not some jagoff nobody who people don't listen to. You're a congressman. Kitty, what are you doing? I think the cat got up here specifically so she could get some treats. Because the treats are over there, and she's facing them conspicuously. Are you going to stay still, Kitty? You can't be rubbing up against the microphone like that. You can make loud noises. Let's keep listening to the news broadcast.
One in the Muslim community I offended with my comment about Rep. Omar. I have reached out to her office to speak with her directly. There are plenty of policy differences to focus on without this unnecessary distraction. But not everyone is demanding an apology. Pueblo Republican Party Chair Robert Leverington says it's not a big deal. She apologized.
I think the Congresswoman Boebert probably expressed the sentiment of many Americans. This Congresswoman Omar has been poking her finger in the eyes of many Americans over the last couple of years, and we're sick of it.
Poking her finger in the eyes of many Americans. What does that even fucking mean? What does he mean by that? You mean she's been doing her job, voting on bills and making policy and things like that? Handling committee assignments? That's what you mean by poking her finger in the eyes of many Americans? And that makes it okay to demonize her and actually put her life in danger? I guess Robert Leverington's the... All right, Kitty, you gotta get down. Go on. Go on. I guess Robert Leverington is the person who said this. I don't know if you realize this, Robert Leverington, but Ilhan Omar actually got death threats as a result, a direct result of what Boebert said. She got a voicemail that she played live in Congress. That's what happens. Nobody was surprised when she played that voicemail. Your words have consequences. And if you're not going to be careful about what your words are and use them to build people up rather than tear them down, then personally, if you're going to put people's lives in danger with stochastic terrorism like that, I'm okay with her getting canceled. Being removed from Twitter, like Marjorie Taylor Greene was, for example, totally okay with that if what she was doing was putting people's lives at risk, which it was. Let's keep listening.
I can't answer for the Congresswoman. I don't know why she apologized. I don't support or that's her business.
So that brings us up to the latest video, late December 2021 is when this one came out. This was her appearance at TPUSA. Give this one a listen, see what she had to say for herself.
So now I'm going to ask you today, we have thousands of people in this room. What are you doing with your God-given authority? What are you doing where he's positioned you? What are you speaking? What is the love that you are showing people?
You know what she's saying, right? She's basically trying to get people to get involved politically, get active, run for office, donate, support their local congressmen and their local politicians. And she's absolutely right. That's the kind of shit you have to do if you want to win. You have to get out there and get involved. You have to run for office. Get out there and support people any way you can. That is at least partly why the Republican Party, as extreme as it seems to be getting, is still winning. Because They know how to mobilize a crowd. They know how to whip people into a blood frenzy, get them excited about something, get them motivated, get them enthusiastic, and get them out there doing things. We need to do that. The atheist movement, of which I consider myself a member, needs to get out there and try to mobilize, try to run for office, get involved, meet with your local politicians, even if it's school board members. Talk to them, learn who they are, get to know them, find out their names, go to dinner parties with them, become their friends, and work with them to accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish. Because guess what? If you don't, she will. And so will the rest of her crew. So will every other audience member in the audience listening to her right now. That's probably what they're doing this weekend. They'll be doing it if you aren't. We need to get out there. Let's keep listening.
You have the answers on the inside of you. And I am tired of having godless people who hate America run this country.
I'm sorry, what? You think godless people who hate America run this country? Is that why you're a congressman, Lauren Boebert? That is ridiculous. Seriously, the persecution complex is just out of this fucking world with these people. They're so disconnected from reality when they say things like this. I have to wonder, do they really believe it? Do they really believe what they're saying when they say, what was it?
And I am tired of having godless people who hate America run this country.
Do they really believe that? Honestly, I think some of them do. As a matter of fact, I think Lauren Boebert is one of the people who really does believe that, who really does buy her own propaganda. Fox News back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it wasn't really like it is now. It started out a little bit more moderate, and as time went on, it got more and more extreme until we finally arrived at our final destination right here, where it's basically just a full-blown propaganda network at this point. But when it was moving toward being a propaganda network, a lot of the hosts didn't really believe the things they were saying. They just felt that they needed to push this extreme narrative to try to move the Overton window further toward the right. They were trying to get as extreme as they could to move the window of acceptable discourse closer to where they wanted it to be. And by doing that, they effectively created a bunch of extremists. Instead of having to hire people who were willing to pretend to be extreme to move that window over for them, they just hire people who believe that extreme stuff. And that's where we are now. A lot of the hosts, in my opinion, are full-blown believers, like true believers. They're not propagandists. I mean, of course they are propagandizing, but first and foremost, they buy their own propaganda, like Lauren Boebert. I think she's a true believer.
The most exceptional country this world has ever known. And it is time we take our positions. We have God's grace. We have His empowerment, His ability, His influence. He has positioned you in a sphere of people that need to hear what you have to say. I didn't come here today to tell you how great I am, and oh, how hard I had it, and oh my goodness, I took a shot and did something.
This is getting fucking weird. I don't know if you guys noticed all the, ultra-nationalism in there, saying we live in an exceptional country, it's the greatest, it's the best, so on and so forth. Okay, fine. I can accept that. Great. We live in a good country. Okay. I have contentions with that, but let's just set those aside, and I'll take the premise. Okay. America's great, or whatever. You want it to be better, right? It is possible to improve on it, isn't it? I mean, do you still believe that it's possible to improve? Do you believe that it's possible for other nations to be better, even if they aren't right now? That's really the difference between patriotism and nationalism. The idea that the country is great, that's patriotism. The idea that it's the best and no other country could possibly match up to it ever, that's nationalism. It's got this hint of inferiority in it. I believe that every other country is inferior. That's kind of the nationalist take. I have consistently seen that from Lauren Boebert, from beginning to end. Every time I see a clip from her, there's some hint of not patriotism, nationalism. Let's keep listening.
I came here to tell you that each and every one of us are called. We are not perfect, but no one's looking for perfect. The perfect has already come. Now more than ever, we need principled public servants who put people first, who will put America first.
Yeah, so what she's doing here is a call to action, trying to get people to get involved and run for office and stuff like that. She's right. We need to do that on our side, which is to say the non-extremist side. Non-extremists need to get in there and run for office, because if we don't, the extremists will. That's what they're working on right now, seriously. Get it together, do it.
Who aren't afraid of the mainstream media and the attacks and the lies. We can go down this list that you saw in the video of all the things that they say about me, but I just smile.
Yeah, Lauren Boebert is a deeply disturbing person, and if you don't want more people like this running for office and winning, then you need to get out there and run against them. Really, do it. Romulus de Troyes, Boebert needs a history lesson. Rhetoric like this kicked off the 30 Years' War back in 1618, a war that killed 8 to 9 million people, all because of intolerance between the creeds. This stuff is deadly. Yes, it is. But either she doesn't know that, or she doesn't care. Or she does know it and intentionally wants that to lead to some kind of a conflict. I'm not sure which. It would not surprise me to find out unequivocally that she really did have the intention to create a new civil war, to split up the states or whatever. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's been talking about a national divorce recently. I don't know if you guys heard that. It's essentially a new civil war where we split the states up into Union and Confederacy all over again.